divorce lawyers of Reddit. What's the most outrageous reason someone filed for divorce? Part 1. Colleague handled a case where money was not an issue, but the kids were. Neither parent wanted them. My mom worked in abuse and neglect counseling and juvenile justice. There are a lot more cases like this than I'd care to admit. Parents divorce and neither side wants the kid. Some of them are that neither side wants a kid, but will fight over another kid. If ends up totally screwing them over because they have to live with the fact that their parents didn't want them. My parents always told each other when they were fighting that if they got divorced the other had to keep me and my brothers. That makes me horribly sad. Some people just shouldn't have kids. Why have kids if you don't want them? You're not obligated to have kids just because you're married. Some people kind of in the same category. I've had a lot of younger male potential clients come in for divorce consults with their mother. Then, during the consult, the mother does 98% of the talking, and it's clear who actually wants the divorce. I'll usually escort mom to wait in the lobby while I talk to the son directly, and most of the time he's just there to appease his mother. On a related note, I once had just the mother call for a consult because she said explicitly she wanted her son to get a divorce. I politely informed her that's not how divorces worked. Edit, because I apparently don't know how to italicize things on Reddit anymore. How many of those guys actually buckle to mom's pressure and go through with the divorce? None that I've met so far. When I asked mom from the room and speak with them directly, I make it clear that it is their decision on whether to not to proceed with a divorce. None of them have wanted to, though I have recommended a few good marriage counselors to the one or two that are actually having marital issues and not in-law issues. My 90-year-old client, the husband, and his son retained me to initiate divorce proceedings with his 88-year-old wife. They'd been married 60 years. The wife had recently taken to beating him with his own cane because their daughter poisoned her into thinking he was hiding money from them. The battle came down to husband and son versus wife and daughter. At their first court appearance, my client showed up in an old 1950s style pinstripe suit and fedora. He was a farmer his whole life, and this was clearly the only suit he owned. He was such a meek and lovely old gentleman. I had to pass my client on to a new lawyer midway through the proceedings because I accepted a job in a different country, but I understand the divorce was eventually granted. You think it was the suit he got married in? Well, I married her in this suit and now I'ma leave her in this suit. This one hurts. Imagine spending that much of your life with someone and then it breaks. 60 years is no joke. I would have been devastated. At their first court appearance, my client showed up in an old 1950s style pinstripe suit and fedora. He was a farmer his whole life, and this was clearly the only suit he owned. This extra detail got me. My aunt had a case where the wife had glued all of the outdoor hoses together, so he wouldn't spend more time washing his vehicle anymore. When the glue didn't work she just cut them all up. When he bought new ones they filed for divorce. I've been scrolling down this comment section for a while now, and this is the first one that made me laugh. Reminds me of when I cut up my headphones because I got mad that one earbud stopped working. It's true that shit hurts differently. Well, at the time, the earbud wasn't completely dead. Sound would come in if I moved the cord a certain way, but it felt like a tease, so I just cut up the headphones so I would stop trying to make it work. Paralegal. A couple got divorced over a cat. Wife called cat Snowball because of white fur and only wanted the cat to eat wet food or chicken breast. Husband called cat Lily again because of white fur and believed it should only eat dry food. These two argued for a year over custody of the cat, but did not give a shit about their human kids aged 15 months, 4 years, and 6 years old. Not a divorce lawyer, but I had a friend whose parents divorced for irreconcilable differences over time spent playing EverQuest. In my game design class, it was referred to as Evercrack. I can understand that. I have an ex because of EverQuest. Never married him though, thankfully. EverQuest is that first popular time sink that ruined relationships, caused at least one suicide, and had countless kids grow up without real parenting. My grandfather's brother was a judge who presided over state issue marriages from time to time. One couple he married returned 6 months later to confirm the wedding and end their trial marriage, when he thusly informed them that there was no such thing and that they had been married for 6 months. They subsequently broke up. That sounds nutty, but if you believed your so when they told you trial marriages were a real thing, that betrayal could very easily end a marriage. My dad was a divorce lawyer. He had a client who wanted to divorce her husband for 2 reasons. He did not have enough hair on his chest. He did not drive fast enough. Keep in mind this was in the 70s when chest hair was a bit more important. Shit yeah. It would have been embarrassing to show up late at a pool party and your man not having a decent chest bush. She was mad she didn't marry Burt Reynolds. Aren't we all? I didn't like her anymore. 2 days after being married. In sickness and in Heath tilde interest do you part. My cousin did this at 3 MOs after her parents had paid out $20k for the wedding. Early 80s. She told me years later that she realized it during the engagement, but didn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I told both my kids, F***ck feelings, if you want out do it, before it costs money. Someone thought marriage was a magic certificate that made everything better. Failed exorcisms. Client had an inner ear condition that caused chronic vertigo, but symptoms could be treated with medication. Husband was an evangelical who was convinced his wife 1 had become possessed and that her vertigo and general crankiness with his methods were evidence of demonic possession. 2. The medications she was taking was enabling the devil to hide inside her. And 3. The only proper recourse was to try various methods of exorcism. He would hide her meds until she got dizzy and then try various methods of exorcism. This included sweating it out, put under blankets, while incapacitated and locked in a room full of space heater. Freezing it out, pretty much the reverse with fans, and bags of ice. Surprising it out, he would jump out and scare her like it was the hiccups, but instead of yelling back quote boo, he would recite the Lord's Prayer or Psalms. The final straw was that he tried to back quote surprise it out of her by pushing her down the stairs when they were heading out for dinner. Note, this guy was some type of executive, and they still went out to dinner after the stairs incident. She asked for the divorce at an Applebee's that night. I have often tried to picture that conversation, as she was adamant that he was a total sweetheart and never acted out of malice or anger. That one's just sad. My uncle has schizophrenia, and my grandaunts tried to convince my grandmother, his mom, to have an exorcist come instead of letting him stay on his medications. It's probably one of the reasons my grandmother stopped talking to them much. It pains me to think he could have gone through all of that if he'd been one of my grandaunt's son instead of my grandmother's. This is more sad than outrageous, but some of my colleagues specialize in elder law and more people than you'd think get divorced on paper in the US in order to receive Medicare benefits without having to lose their home. See for example this article. Edit. Medicare/Medicaid. I once knew a couple that never legally married because if they did one of them would lose their disability benefits. The system doesn't always work. The whole welfare/social security/Medicare rules for eligibility are so stacked against couples. She was kidnapped in Mexico and he refused to pay ransom. Eventually her family managed to pay and she was left on the side of the road. It is not outrageous as in petty, but outrageous as how absurd that is. Honey, I love you, but we agreed to save up money so we can purchase a house. Your ransom would really set us back. Was the husband Danny DeVito? It was only 30,000 pesos. Do you not understand exchange rates, Harold? He had an argument with the new in-laws during the wedding and moved out at around 5 AM during the first night. Knew a couple who were married for only a few hours. Bride's side of the family was being disrespectful to the groom's side at the reception. He brought this up on the way to the hotel after the reception, which caused a heated argument. Bride calls up her family who arrived to the hotel and start a fight with the groom in the lobby. Groom called his side of the family as well. Hotel lobby turned into a screaming match field and they separated there and then. It was such an extravagant wedding. What a waste. Marriage speedrun. What kind of fight causes that? I was a legal assistant when this case came in, but this lady divorced her husband of 2 months because he got her an iPad case for her birthday instead of the expensive jewelry she wanted. I dated a girl that didn't speak to me for a day or two because I got her an iPad instead of jewelry. Her reassuncing was because I could just use yours. I'm glad that relationship is over. Maybe she saw a jewelry box in his coat pocket, but when she opened her present, it was a Joni Mitchell album instead. Dear viewer, like and subscribe please. I love you.